Hi, I'm Jenna.
And I'm Mark.
And you're listening to
Cincinnati Zoo Tales.
All right, welcome back to Cincinnati Zoo Tales.
Yeah, everyone, I'm super pumped for today's episode. Thanks for joining us. Jenna, we're talking tigers today.
Yes.
Something that I think who doesn't love tigers?
I know.
Everyone's
They're
passionate about tigers.
They have to be the top 5 favorite animals, right?
Absolutely, they gotta be. We're being joined by Erin Carney, who's one of our keepers in our Night Hunters and Cat Canyon department, who works with our tigers here at the zoo.
We have 2 new tigers.
2 new tigers to talk about. I'm excited to hear about them. Erin, thanks for taking the time to join us today. We appreciate it. I know you're busy, but
no, I'm excited to be here. Talk about tigers.
I mean, we have new tigers to talk about. We want to learn about tigers in general from you, but we also want to we always start episodes asking people how they got to where they are. And I've known you, at least 10 years now?
Yeah, I've been here about 10 years.
Yeah, and I think you have a really interesting start to your career and how you got into this, and it's not the one we typically hear. So I'm excited to hear your story and how you started as a zookeeper at the Cincinnati Zoo.
Well, I took an extremely long route to get here.
Great things take time, right?
I hope so. So I was pretty passionate as a kid. Loved animals. That's all I wanted to do was either be a vet or work with animals in the field. And I'll be honest, in high school, I came to career day here at the zoo. I was so excited. And it kind of changed my mind. It just wasn't what I thought. But keep in mind, I am much older than the average keeper here.
You wouldn't be able to tell by looking at her.
Thank you, but I wouldn't agree with that. But I'm 53, so we're talking 30 plus. I'm trying not to age myself. Well, I did just age myself. I just outed myself. Anyway, so it was quite a while ago, and what's interesting is the evolution of zoos and how far they've come. We still have a long way to go, but it's exciting. So I took a totally different route, kind of after that.
And what did you see on, I'm sorry to interrupt, what did you see on your career day that you saw everyone scoop and poop and you were like, this isn't for me?
Yeah, it was kind of that, and sweeping floors and stuff like that.
It's a lot of cleaning, especially 30 years ago. There wasn't the fun stuff what I consider fun. The enrichment and the training wasn't completely there.
It wasn't. Zoos were more of a menagerie. They're more of like an entertainment thing, which, we're still kind of in that business a bit because we want people to enjoy their time at zoo, but we also want to make it more educational and find a way that, people can get passionate about animals and what can they do for them.
Definitely.
I didn't really see that. I don't even know if that was, part of just the regular chat talk back then, if it was, that big of a deal, but I didn't see that. Today there's still plenty of cleaning, so
right.
But I don't know, maybe my young age, I just thought I was above that, but I just kind of wanted to be more hands-on with the animals, and I did not see that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Whereas today we do so much operant conditioning. Basically, if you don't know what that is, just kind of training the animals for husbandry procedures. So there's a lot less stress. We're not having to, use anesthesia, things like that. That can be really dangerous just to do basic things on animals. So much enrichment. We don't want stereotypic behaviors to develop today out of boredom or small spaces. They didn't ask to be here, and we are trying to make their lives as wonderful as we possibly can. And, I don't want to knock zoos. Again, we've evolved, and we still have some room to grow, and it's exciting. But, being young back then, I was like, I don't think this is for me.
I've said that before. Talking to Gary Densler, he went back 50 years, and like, oh my gosh, if that was happening these days, there's no way I'd be a zookeeper. There's no way,
Yeah, I do love hearing some old-timer stories.
Yes, there are some things that I'm like, that sounds fun.
One of my favorite things about working in the zoo and people that have been here for so long, which is, another thing. It's people, once you get a job here, you don't leave.
Right.
I mean, this is a lifelong career, and I see why. But
back in the day, there were some wild experiences to be had, though. That is for sure, for better, for worse.
I mean, speaking of tigers, they used to take tigers to the Bengals games. That's wild. And so, of course, who doesn't want to take a tiger out to meet people? But when you work at a zoo now, we look back and we're like, Yeah, there's a reason we don't do that anymore,
Yeah.
and there's a reason we don't promote tigers on a leash and that sort of thing. So things have changed, and that's, we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
Like, we're glad there's progression, and we're always progressing and trying to be better every day. It's really important.
It's exciting, and it's exciting to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And, be able to use your creativity and education and things like that to just, try to improve things.
So you came in high school, and you're like, no,
Yeah.
thank you.
No.
But now you're here.
Now I'm here.
How did that happen?
I took a big detour. I was in banking. I kind of fell into that accidentally for a temporary job of about 6 months. And then I did well. They promoted me, or I don't know. They just...
You did well. You did
Yeah.
well.
Clearly did well.
12 years later, I'm still in banking, and I was like, no, I can't do this. I can't do this. And then it was around 2000 when... everything, the world was going to end because of Y2K. I had made the decision. I was like, I'm going to go move, or I've got to do a career change. I wanted to work with animals, and I didn't know in what capacity. And I was fortunate enough that they offered me a bonus to stay on through Y2K to
Oh my
help,
gosh.
make sure the world didn't end and all the computers in the banking world didn't explode. So they gave me a little extra money to go kind of start over and figure out, okay, what do I want to do and work with animals. So I was a general manager of, in the pet industry, dogs and cats, took care of them for when people go on vacation.
Oh,
they had
okay.
grooming and daycare and all that stuff. So I really learned a lot about, kind of the husbandry when you have a lot of animals
Yeah.
together. Some training and just, trying to figure out where am I going to fit in this picture. I'm not one for management. I really wanted to be more hands-on.
Yeah.
So it wasn't exactly the role for me, but I did start working in a vet's office. And that I really found fascinating and wonderful. I was kind of a vet tech for a while. Really, really enjoyed that. And that schedule allowed me the flexibility to start volunteering at the zoo. I loved coming to the zoo. I could obviously kind of see some changes, and it was kind of my happy place. And when I started volunteering, I was like, all right, I found it. This is it. This is what I need to do. This is where I need to be. Felt like family. Everything just felt right. So it took a while, a lot of volunteering, and I started in different positions.
I was gonna say, did you
Yeah.
start off with like the educational carts that we used to have?
Yeah, I
Okay.
was volunteer at the carts, and then I started off as a volunteer with like wild encounters and
Oh,
taking
yeah.
some animals out for random encounters, which was fun. And I did some volunteering, like keeper assistant. The longer I was here, and was like, just the more I got into it, the more I was like, this is where I need to be. So I did have to go back and get a little more schooling. I did that and a lot of volunteering, and then it just kind of evolved. Got a paid position at Wild Encounters, and then I moved on to Elephant House back when we had giraffes, and I was a seasonal keeper there, which was amazing. Learned a lot. There's a lot of folks at Elephant House that just have a lot of experience, a lot of great stories.
Definitely.
That was fun.
We've heard from Val. We've heard some of Val's
Okay,
stories before.
yeah. So you know how fun that can be. And then I had a really, really unique opportunity. The curator of primates called me. There was a gorilla down in Texas at the Gladys Porter Zoo. First-time mom. She was not taking care of her baby. And we had 4 potential gorillas, female gorillas here, that they felt would make a good surrogate mother for this baby. So what that meant was they flew that baby gorilla up here, but they also needed a human surrogate before we could start introducing or try to find a gorilla mom. So I got to be a full-time gorilla mom for 3 months.
That's amazing. Like, why
Incredible.
you? I don't mean that in like, but you weren't one of the gorilla keepers. Like, how do you think you fell into that position?
I volunteered at the primates.
Oh, you did.
Okay.
I forgot about that.
So
okay.
as I was working in Elephant House, I also volunteered in other areas.
Okay, I forgot. That makes sense.
So yeah, I kind of knew
You were able to make some connections.
It wasn't
Yeah.
like you didn't know any of the
Yeah.
primate
No,
keepers.
no.
Okay, you were.
Yeah, so, and it was definitely obvious that I wanted to break into, more of a keeper role and get a full-time position and things like that. So I got to be the overnight mom, which meant that I came in at 11 o'clock at night. And we want that experience to be, because the end goal, we don't want to hand raise this baby. We don't want to take babies away, for any species, away from their mom unless it's absolutely necessary. Mm-hmm. So the goal was always to get her back with a female gorilla. But in the interim, we wanted to keep things as close to how it was going to be as possible. So that meant we wanted her to have the same smells and sounds and environment that she's going to have once she's not with a human, which meant I slept in one of the gorilla areas in the back bedroom, on the floor, in the straw.
Smells nice in there.
Yeah, it smells wonderful, wonderful. And spent the night, because he had to give her bottles throughout the night. And that also, she could hear the vocalizations of the other gorillas. She could kind of see them across the hall and hear them next door. And it was all very interesting. It was a great learning experience. I did learn how to speak like a gorilla. Because one of the important things was she needs to learn how, just like a mom, like she bites, that's not good behavior.
Yeah.
Gorillas are very social, and so you need to make sure she takes up on all those social cues. So we didn't do baby talk to her as much as you wanted to, but, if there was something going on in the area, and, maybe she felt frightened or whatever, we'd have to make soothing sounds, just like a real gorilla would.
Oh, my gosh. You don't want to do them for us, do you?
Huh?
You don't want to do them for us, do you?
It sounds like a belch.
Oh, really?
A belch.
Yeah, it's very guttural.
I would be terrible at doing that.
Oh, God, I don't know, kind of embarrassing, but it's like, that's like soothing kind of talk to them. So it was interesting. Like I said, I would spend the night there with her, and then there were other keepers that would work with her, during the day, because somebody had to be with her all the time. But one of the interesting things is that gorilla babies instantly hold on to their moms as soon as they're born. And it's the baby's job to hold on.
Yeah.
The mom will hold on to them a little bit, but basically that the baby has the strength and they will hold on. So we did wear fur vests and crawled around and did basically what a gorilla would do. So that was exciting.
Do you go see her often? Do you think she would remember you? Like, you have to have some sort of bond, right?
And which gorilla is this?
This was Kamina.
Kamina, okay.
Unfortunately, things just did not work out with any of our females here.
Oh.
So she ended up going to Columbus Zoo and then had a surrogate there. So I have gone to visit her and see her. I'd like to believe she remembers me, but I'm not entirely sure. But I like to tell myself that, I'm still her mom.
Yeah.
And she'll always remember
I don't blame
me.
you.
Definitely.
But one of the interesting, I don't know if this is a great topic of conversation, but I'm going for it. I was there overnight, so it was pitch dark, and, gorillas are, just eat lettuce and all that stuff.
Oh, boy.
So, they're very gassy. Very gassy. So you'd be like middle of the night, pitch dark, and you hear a lot of farts.
Oh, man.
And you know why? It never made me stop laughing. Every time. Like, I laughed every single time out loud.
You're just
Oh, my
alone
gosh.
with a baby gorilla, cracking up, sleeping in straw.
It was, like, so fun.
People would think you're crazy, lady, if they didn't know any better.
I was like, where's she going with this? That's a good story.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But anyway, so I did that for a few months, and then I fell into, basically, I did some volunteering in a couple other areas, keeper volunteering while I was still with Wild Encounters, and then got fortunate enough that a position opened in our bear line area, which is now converted to what we call North America, but with our polar bears, black bears, our Andean bear, we had our sea lion, otters, wolves, all those animals, and ended up with a temp position there, and was there for 5 years.
It's wild how that works.
Yeah.
5 years
So
in
it
a
was
quote-unquote
wonderful.
temp role.
Right. It's so temporary.
It was wonderful. It was amazing. I loved it. Loved the people. Loved the animals.
Yeah, that's a
and,
cool group of animals.
Yes, it was super cool. And then I was fortunate about 2.5 years ago. to get a permanent position at the Night Hunters. So it's been a lot of learning and everything, but we have so many different species there, which is wonderful.
Yes.
And you had a lot of species experience before getting
Yeah.
that job. I mean, between
Yeah.
giraffe and elephants and all the North American animals, and then raising a baby gorilla, like
Yeah.
you've got a wide range under your belt. And yeah, night hunters. There's what 20 more species. And do you know how many? I'm
You know what? I
putting you on the
should,
spot,
but
but no,
don't
I didn't. Don't worry, I didn't know how many animals we have in our department. So it's okay. But yeah, it's a lot of different like small mammals, and then the large, cats and.
If you want to count all the vampire bats, we definitely have over 300 animals in that area. But I don't know if we want to count them all individually, but
Sure we do. But yeah, okay, so that's an incredible, leading up to Night Hunter's career and so many cool animals we could talk about in Night Hunters. But today we're going to focus on the tigers. And, recently we've had, 2 new tigers join us. So will you tell us their species and their names and maybe their ages or any fun personality facts for the people that are, coming to the zoo often and, are really interested in these new guys? What can they learn about them as individuals?
So we have Malayan tigers here. There was actually 9, all the tigers are subspecies, and there was a total of 9 subspecies. So Malayan are what we have here. They would be considered the most endangered or almost the most endangered. So basically 3 of the 9 species are already extinct. There is one species of tiger that is extinct in the wild, but there's about 30 individuals that are in human care.
Is that a mirror
they're trying to
tigers?
be back. No, actually, it is the South China tiger.
Oh, okay.
So there's only about 30 to 40, but all of them are endangered. Every tiger that is still left. So still got a lot of work to do, but we do have, like I said, we have the Malayan. I'm sure everybody's usually comes up and they're used to the Bengals.
Yes, yeah,
They're from Cincinnati.
Yes.
That's fine. They're not a Bengal tiger, but don't tell anybody. They're still, still almost the same. But we had 3 sisters that were born here recently with SSP recommendations, which is the species survival plan, and they try to do what's best for the population of these animals and what's best for them in human care. They just recently got sent out.
I'm glad you brought that up because we've seen some questions where people are asking why didn't we bring a male to breed here? Why would we send them out? Why aren't we breeding here? But sometimes there are just differences in facilities that make one a better fit, or it's easier to send this tiger than that tiger for breeding and such. So, sorry, go on. But yeah, I think that's
absolutely.
It's all based off of the species survival plan and what's best for them.
Yeah, it's not really, our decision. They want to try to figure out, which animals are most genetically viable and valued. We don't want interbreeding. We want to do what is best for those animals. And so if there's another facility that is got more space or whatever the circumstances,
Or more
matching
flexibility
up,
with their
yes.
setup.
Yeah, or like a mothering
setup isn't
den
very
or
flexible.
something.
So
Yeah.
just that type of setup too. So they don't just look at personalities; they're also looking at facilities and things like that. And also, we don't want to ignore the fact that there are animals that like one of our new ones. Her name is Jin. She's 14 years old.
Wow.
So she's well past the breeding age.
Yes.
So we don't want to forget these animals. They're important.
Yeah.
They didn't, ask to be here. We want to make their lives as great as possible. So, they need to have the best of the best too. So they felt that Jen was a great fit for Cincinnati. So that is one of the reasons she's here. We're going to try to do our best to give her the best care we possibly can.
14. What is their average lifespan?
Usually about 15 to 20. We can get into the lower 20s,
Wow.
especially in human care. They're not having to deal with all the things they have to do in the wild. They're getting veterinary care. They don't have to worry about hunting for their food. It's getting brought to them.
Yes. We'll mush it up for her if she needs it.
Yeah,
in a few
so we're
years.
gonna do all that. So, but yeah, she's getting there. But now, when you see her though, she definitely does not look like an old lady.
Oh,
She
good.
doesn't act like an old lady.
Oh, that's awesome.
She is. She's doing great. One of the things I do want to talk about is 2 of our girls got sent to other places that I think a lot of our members and visitors were very used to, Izzy and Batari. And I just want to give some props to our keeper. Like, both of those girls are doing fabulous in their new places.
That's so good to hear.
Batari has not even been gone very long, but her new facility, her new place, her new home, has just said how marvelously she's adapted. So much so she has still kept some of her behaviors that she has learned, husbandry behaviors. A couple of weeks ago, they were able to actually do a blood draw on her, which is something that one of our keepers, Michelle, was very vital, and she trained Batari that particular behavior.
Do you guys do the tail like we do from
Yeah,
lions?
yes,
Okay, great.
Yeah. So basically,
she was like, "Sure, you're new keepers, but you can do the tail."
She's just totally chill. So she literally would like. What we would do is like kind of call her into the back, ask her to lay down, ask her to kind of hold. We can had one of the vet techs. They would grab the tail and just draw blood, and she's just like, okay, whatever. You know, it took some time to do that, but she trusted us, and it took a long time to build that trust.
Right.
And it's great that her new keepers have been able to maintain that, and she's adjusted that well.
Especially after a big move and everything like that, you never know how an animal's going to react to it.
Yeah, and also too on those moves, we prepare them. So we make sure that they are going to be comfortable. You know, let's face it, like, it's not an ideal situation to ship an animal.
Plane, right?
Exactly, that's what I was going to say. Nobody's really comfortable on a plane, even if you're in first class. But we do try to make it as easy as possible. So we always, like, for the first few weeks before she left, let her have access to where she's going to be shipped in. We put bedding in there. So it's just something that she would walk right into. There's no forcing. There's no anything like that. So they are very comfortable. So if anybody's asking about how Batari and Izzy are doing, they're doing great.
Great.
It's a huge loss for us because we love those girls.
Yes.
However, it makes us very happy to see them succeeding and happy where they're at.
And that's a testament to you guys as a team and to their new keepers. Like, it's a credit to all of you guys. Like, that's amazing.
We're excited about that. Now, there's a lot of challenges that come with, getting new animals in. And we've definitely been faced with some challenges with these two new ones. But they're both just so different, so unique. And it's just kind of to brainstorm, to figure out what's best for them, what they like, what they don't like. Jin is our female, she's extremely laid back. She's totally chill. She's just like, anything goes. It's almost like she's been here forever.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, we still have a lot of work to do because there's a lot of things that maybe visitors don't understand. That, first of all, once they come here, they do have to go through a type of a quarantine procedure. We want to make sure that they didn't catch anything on the way here, that they're safe, that we're not risking the health of any of the other animals or our other tigers. So then we also have to make sure that if we let her out into our yard, that she understands what kind of the boundaries are. She also knows when to come back in. We had the storm, power went out, of thing.
Yeah.
We have to get these animals used to coming in, when we need them to come in, and that type of thing. So there's a lot of adjustments and some coordinations, that we have to go through to make sure that it's safe for everybody, not just the animals, but, our visitors and stuff as well. I mean, these are wild, dangerous animals, so love to think that I could go in and pet her and she's super chill, but I don't think that would happen. Zero is our boy. He is 6.
Okay.
This is his first time away from where he was born. And he also lived with his brother. So he's a little more difficult.
It's a
he's
big adjustment
very,
for him.
very shy. He was very shy with us, with new people. There's a few of us have really kind of, worked with him all day long, getting him used to us and the noises and things of, in his behind the scenes, in his bed area, den area. Getting used to all that is a big step. And he's taken a little bit longer than what we typically see and definitely what we've seen with Jin. Even just getting him to want to go out into the yard, that was a long process. Now we're working on getting him to come back into the yard when we need him, or from the yard when we need him to. So, it's definitely had some challenges. We also, we have the 2 yards, but until we can get each tiger coming in and out confidently, we can't really
Switch them up. Or,
because either we're going to have two tigers kind of next to each other. We're not sure how they're going to deal with that kind of thing. So when you come to the zoo, one yard will be empty, and you never know if it's going to be Jin or Zero out because we're rotating them out into that first yard, and then eventually we'll get them. So each has time outside every day that we can put them in different yards, and they can both be out at the same time.
Okay.
That process will take a little while, though.
Yeah.
I have a question about him living with his brother until he was 6. I thought they were pretty much solitary unless it's a mother with cubs. How did that work? And why did he get along? Like, was it just a special situation? They got along, so they stayed together?
I think, there's a lot of situations like that we see in, different species of animals and also kind of in human care too. So, like we had our 3 girls that were born here, and at a certain age they're like, all right, we're done with each other, and they had to be separated. Prior to our 3 girls, we did have 2 brothers that lived here, and they were fine. It just kind of depends.
Okay.
You just never know. So
each individual's unique, and sometimes the personalities mesh, sometimes they don't. Yeah.
And maybe somewhere down the line it wouldn't have meshed. But still, we have to think too. A lot of that is. A lot of the males won't get along because basically they are competing for females,
right?
Territory kind of thing and food. So as long as you kind of keep the males or whatever, if you have the 2 same sexes together, keeping them separated at meal times and that kind of thing, and you're very aware of that stuff, a lot of times you can make those arrangements. Same thing like our polar bears. Like when I work with polar bears, they don't typically, you wouldn't see a male and female living together, but ours did just fine. So it just kind of depends on the situation. But that's an excellent question. I mean,
hopefully he gets used to it and likes his space to himself, though.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah. But we hear that a lot. A lot of times, just with a lot of our, our animals out on their habitats, we'll hear, visitors say, "Oh, they need a friend. They need to. Why are they alone?" And
no, some prefer it that way.
Trust me, that's how they want it. That's how they are in the wild, and that's how they want to be, here at the zoo. So, just so you know, we're trying to do what's absolutely best for them.
Yeah.
So,
With tigers, it can be tricky, and I know especially when we had the 3 girls, it was really tricky telling them apart. Are there any visual cues that you guys are able to look for with Zero and Jin, so that if a guest comes and they see him on habitat, they might be able to tell who's who?
Besides the fact that one's a boy.
Yes, Erin, if you're looking at their faces and they're laying down, how can you tell?
Basically, I don't know. Zero, his head is so fluffy.
Okay.
I would say that's the best way.
He's just got some extra scruff kind of around his neck
He's
area.
just got a really, really big fluffy head. As far as weights, they're about the same size.
What are their weights?
They're a little over. They're about 250, 260.
Oh, they're small. I guess Malayans are smaller.
Malayans are smaller. They are much smaller than what you would see with the Siberian or Amur tigers or Bengal tigers.
Okay.
Which are going to be your biggest. So they're almost twice the size.
I was going to say, John, our lion, is 420.
Yeah.
So thinking about them being about half John's size, I guess.
So Malayan tigers are neat too because they are that much brighter orange. So they're spectacular to look at that way, but then they're also smaller. So a lot of times people will come and look at them and expect that why aren't they bigger? Or think that they're really young. It's just different species, different different size.
And that's correct me if I'm wrong, I've always heard that's an adaptation to living in a dense jungle, because the Malayans live in a lot denser forest than the Siberians or the Bengals might, so the smaller size kind of helps them navigate a little bit.
Yeah, totally different environment too, so you're talking the Amur Siberian tigers, they're in completely cold, very cold weather. They're up there.
It is wild to think of them in such different,
climates.
Jungle hot or
super
Siberia.
hot. Then, so it's totally different. I think that's, one reason that they've adapted. So, excellent point.
Very cool. So, I mean, all tigers have different stripes, so it's kind of like our fingerprints. If you came and you saw them at the same time, you might eventually be able to pick out, or maybe if you study photos, I guess, you would be able to tell maybe different stripes or look for something. But For you guys, it's
Sure,
definitely
we will
the
put. I
fluffiness.
think we had some signs up at one point telling the girls apart how to tell, like on their face, and I think some of our members have come up with a way to tell them apart. I haven't.
Okay.
I just automatically know.
Yeah,
so
who's who,
I
yeah.
honestly have not like really observed them close enough to say one has a big stripe down the center of their head or
Yeah.
something like that. So,
It's
But it
one of
is
those
something
things-
that they're
Yeah.
unique with.
Yeah.
Like, away the
Yeah.
giraffe, they don't have the same patterns.
Yeah.
So.
It's one of those things too where like I feel like every keeper sees something different
Oh,
in the
yeah.
animal. Like Teresa, when we work with the giraffes, Teresa will say, "Oh, I look for this marking in Zoe," and I'm like, "I've never seen that
Right.
marking once in my life. I've never paid any attention to it."
yeah, river otters, I could like, totally tell Sugar and Wesley apart just by personality. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't. They didn't
This
have.
one's
They
doing this,
barely
yeah.
had anything that was different. I was
Yeah.
just like, oh yeah, that's Sugar. She's crazy.
That's funny.
So as Malayan tigers, what are they hunting in the wild, and what are some of the things that you've found are their favorites here, if you can tell yet,
Yeah,
with Zero and Jin?
Favorites. We try to give them like they obviously we have meat in their diet, but we try to incorporate a lot of prey items too as well, just like they would in the wild. So out in the wild, they're going to catch things like deer, boar, tapir. But they might even, depending on food sources, they might go for even like a small bear, like sun bears.
Wow, no
Yeah.
way.
Oh, wow.
And actually, even they could go for like this would be rare, but they might even go for something bigger, like a small like a baby elephant or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. But that's kind of rare.
Yeah.
It's more like the bears.
But
And
they're really
boars
good
and-
hunters.
Mhm.
Very
Amazing.
strong.
What I find so amazing about tigers is that they obviously beautiful, bright orange. Like their camouflage is so different than other animals with the beige and the black and the. So you just don't think about it. And we do get visitors sometimes that are like, "Oh, no tiger in the yard," and they absolutely are.
Wow.
It is so amazing how when they are laying in the bamboo or the grass in the yard that you cannot see them. And what that kind of is like basically if they are in the dense jungle, like you talked about, the way the sun comes down through that dense jungle, it
Yeah.
creates a lot of like bright spots and shadows and things like that, which their orange and black just is perfect
Right.
for their environment. But it is just one of those cool things about like how camouflage works.
For sure.
Like you just literally think about it. Hunters wear bright orange,
Yeah.
like so that they can be seen, and yet we've got this animal who's totally camouflaged with bright orange. So I do find that really
It is
super
wild how
cool.
it works,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, and the light, like, kind of filtering in just meshes
Yeah.
well with their
Yeah, I
their
mean, I have a
stripes.
hard time. Sometimes I'll go out to the front and like try to see where they're at in the yard, and I'm like, I can't find them, and
You're like,
You're
I
like,
know
I
they're
just
out
put
there
them out. I
somewhere.
watched them walk out the
I
door.
know.
Where are they?
Yeah, and then I'll find them, and then it's just like, wow, this is how they blend in. It's
So
just
is that what they
unique.
do for hunting then? They're blending in, like stalking their prey. They're not chasing them like a cheetah. They're kind of sneaking up on them.
Yeah, they're very strong. They can run fast, but their main thing is kind of going to be like that stalking and being able to camouflage and kind of
Just pounce at the end. Yeah.
absolutely. But they can run pretty fast, so we're talking like 40 miles an hour,
Wow.
type, even faster than that. So
That's
just-
terrifying.
Yeah.
So big to run that fast.
Yeah, so you could be right by a tiger and not know it.
Wow.
So, I mean, what we've found here that they like, we do give them, I don't know, can I say? Like,
Yeah.
Okay, so they get, bunnies. First of all, anybody listening, those animals we do not feed out live
No.
animals. But they get guinea pigs, bunnies. We give them some, like, goat pieces. What I feel like their favorite is, both of them. It's still working it out, but they both seem to really like their bunnies.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's one of John's
That's the same
favorites.
with John. Yeah.
They
John the
really
lion.
like the bunnies. Super cool thing, too, that we used to do with the girls, and maybe we'll get to that point with Jin and Zero, is there is a pole out in the yard. It's a feed pole, and we will actually hang one of their prey items up there. Usually they're bunny, and you can actually watch them climb very, very high.
Super cool. Is it like 8, 10, 12 feet? Do you?
Oh, it is way more than that. But
oh, really?
yeah,
Wow.
No, it's very.
I've seen
very
like
cool.
a few videos or pictures, but I've never seen it.
It lasts like a second. It happens so fast. You have all these visitors like waiting at the window, and like if you blink, you'll miss it.
Yeah,
and that's what's cool. But yeah, when we started that with the girls, it took them a while. Because we can lower and raise it, and we started it pretty low. They would stand up and just kind of grab it. But then once they got used to it, they just were like, they could climb all the way to the top, and it's phenomenal to see.
It's an awesome natural behavior to encourage too. Good exercise for them and everything.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
We do try to do that, encourage as much of that as we can. So a lot of times we'll take those prey items, hide them out in the yard, hang them, do whatever we can to kind of keep promoting that and
keep them stimulated. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Another thing I need to mention, super cool about tigers, water. Love water.
Very few cats love water.
Yes, yeah. So you will find them, especially in this wonderful weather that we're having right now. Both Zero and Jin have spent a lot of time in that pool right by the front window.
That's super cool. It's so close.
Yeah. So you'll get to see them up there. They spend a lot of time there. And then hopefully when we start using the other yard, they have that bigger pool with the waterfall. But that's just one of those adaptations of like tigers. They just love the water. They'll get in there and play and splash around. Sometimes they just lay there. It's just their way of like cooling off.
Just to hang out.
Just hanging out. So that's one of the cool things to see this summer is a lot of coming up and just being inches from the tiger. So
I wanted to talk, it's not like necessarily about tigers in general, but some people who have been to the zoo might have noticed the dots on the windows. Will you just talk, I think we might have mentioned it during our bird migration episode, but for anybody who didn't listen, we have dots along some of our habitats, but the tigers, it's really like obvious, I feel like, compared. And will you explain to the listeners why the zoo would do that?
We just like to annoy people.
Yes,
that are trying to take pictures.
We want to ruin all of your
we like to offer up challenges to anybody trying to get a good picture. No, those are basically like for our wild birds. Migrating birds and just our local birds. If seen at home, birds can fly into windows, and we just want to avoid that at all costs. I know we've done some studies as well too of like some of our environments, our habitats that have the glass, like where did we see more bird strikes than other places, because sometimes some of our habitats we don't see that much, and other ones we see a lot more. So that kind of is the dots are to hopefully avoid any of those.
And the reason to bring that up is because one of the coolest parts about the zoo changing and being more progressive is how we've changed their habitats. And one of those things is having these giant panels of glass so that you can be inches from a tiger. Yeah. But then it comes at a cost to these wild birds we've learned. And as a conservation organization, we're trying to balance that out of inspiring you and having the habitats more beautiful and easy to get up close to the animals, but then also looking out for our native wildlife. So I think that's something, as annoying as it might be, if you know the explanation behind it, I think
it makes sense.
Helps you agree with it a little bit more. So does Zero and Jin come in with any certain training, or do you guys have any goals for them? I know there's a lot going on right now, and it's not a priority for some things, but like getting them comfortable with the yard is most important, of course, and each other, or not each other, but keepers and the animals.
So right now, like Jin, she's fabulous. She had already had a lot of these behaviors. She knows.
Where does she come from?
Jin is from Virginia.
Okay.
Well, no, she's Tulsa. He's Virginia.
Okay.
Sorry, I get it confused. And then, so she knows how to target.
Okay.
I don't know. Does everybody know what targeting is?
Go ahead. You can feel free to explain.
Feel free to explain it. Yeah.
So probably one of the most basic and one of the first things that you're going to teach an animal is targeting. And you may have seen some keepers do this. You'll have a stick with some sort of a ball on the end or buoy or whatever. And basically that is, you want to be able to get an animal to maybe come over to what you call your target stick. And that way you can kind of not kind of, but it's one of an easy way to get them to move to locations that you need them to. For instance, a scale. You know, we don't want to have to like crate them up every time or do something, you know, just let them like easily. And then once you get them to target, then you can, reward them with whatever their favorite item is. But it's a way to get them to shift to different areas so that you can do appropriate cleaning. You can get weights. You
Move
can just
them around. Like, you want to see their left side, but they're showing you their right. Like, they get up to see the target, and then you can see different.
Yeah. And then once
target's
they've got
so basic,
that,
but so helpful.
Once you get the targeting down, too, you can start working on everything else. Like, easily getting them to crate themselves. So when they do have to go to, for their veterinary exam or physical, they're just, oh, yeah, my crate, cool.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of a beginning stage, too, but there's just so much else that you can do with it. So she can target. We can get her to lay down. We can sit. So we're able to do a whole basic, we can, the physical.
Look her over
every day.
So she's already responding to all these behaviors with you?
Absolutely. Like I said, she's laid back and chill and does all that. Zero, it took a little more time, but he will. He will. He's also, he knows how to target. We can get him to basically do some of the basic things, get him to lay down and things like that. It is also, too, what I've found with him is if he does tend to get stressed, I can start to target him a little bit, and that kind of, like, changes where his focus is at.
Good.
So if, there's a noise or something that he's not quite sure of, and he starts to get a little bit, like, anxious, I can start targeting, and all of a sudden his mind's like, oh yeah,
Pulls
food,
attention
and
away.
reward, and I'll do this, and then, things are good. So, he's definitely developing. They came in with those. And then we'll probably do the same thing that, we did with our girls too, and, we want to be able to do, like, their injections. I mean, just like your pets at home, these guys need vaccines. So we want them to voluntarily be able to do that.
Which I think is funny because most of us at home, our dogs wouldn't voluntarily.
Yeah, exactly.
But we have tigers and lions.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so, we're doing all that, and we'll continue to work with that, too, as well, with these two, as we go in and probably put out some more fun enrichment. Get them moving around.
Have you found that out, like any of their favorites yet, or
no?
Taking that slowly too. Like for example, Tucker, our new male hippo, is terrified of half the toys that the girls love. So every animal has a different personality, or they're used to something.
Slow going with him.
He loves a hanging barrel and just knocking all the food out of it, and he won't come near one. So
I honestly, they love the logs that we give them, and that working on them. But I have not seen either play with any particular toy or enrichment that we've given them other than their prey items.
Okay.
And we have like hung a few up like in their off exhibit areas or in the back areas. We've hung them, and then they have to kind of work at it, and we've put it on top of different toys. But other than that, I haven't seen them too much. Again, the pool. They both have really seemed to like that, and kind of play around with things that might be floating in there a little bit too.
Very cool. Maybe someday you'll see if they like the hose. I wonder if they would like to play with the hose, like almost just like splash around.
Yeah. Hopefully when we get out there in like the other yard with the big waterfall, you can see that too. That was like one of Batari and Izzy's favorite things to do is like be in that pool. So hopefully we'll be able to get them out into that pool sooner than later.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, we do have a night hunter. I'm going to push this too. We have a new fishing cat.
Ooh,
yeah,
awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and she is like obsessed with cardboard boxes. I finally bring it up because you asked what their favorite, the tiger's favorite enrichment was, and I can't I can't really say yet with them. But with our new fishing cat, her name's Juniper, we give her literally a cardboard box every day.
And she loves
them. She loves them.
Juniper.
That's a cute.
How old is she?
I think she's 7.
Put you on the spot.
Yeah.
I'm horrible with animals' age.
Thank you. There's so many animals and so many ages.
I can't remember mine sometimes.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So we're working on getting some live fish in there for
fun.
her,
cool.
which we'll give her daily, which is really fun. So it's been a couple of years since we had a fishing cat at Night Hunters, and so visitors will have to come and see that.
I got to get up there and see it.
Yeah.
I got to see that ASAP. That's awesome.
I didn't mean to stray off from tigers.
No.
But I had to
That
put
was
some,
one thing I wanted to
Yeah.
ask, though. Like, you guys have a huge collection of animals you take care of. Do you have, outside of the tigers, do you have a favorite that you take care of?
You can't ask. You can't. You're a zookeeper.
And I have favorites.
We cannot ask animal people if they have
We
a
make
favorite.
people
That's
answer that
horrible.
question all the time.
That's just horrible. Don't even. No, it literally
So you
changes.
don't, huh?
It literally, like, I'll be like, well, you're my favorite girl. And, like, yes, I have favorites, but it changes. And I don't have just one.
She's not going to insult any of her animals on air.
Yeah.
We'll have to get it. We'll have to get the answer out of her.
I will say, I have a tendency to like the more neurotic ones, or that have some
The ones that
strange
the underdog.
personality quirks, or
Special cases.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about them, but I just tend to really like think, yeah, you're the one.
That's funny.
That's awesome.
So, not to bring it back too soon or too sad, but I do want to touch on, you mentioned that all species of tigers are endangered. Will you tell us the causes? Like, what are the main issues they're facing? And I think we always like to remind people that, you know, we have zoos to hopefully make people, like, make an impact on people when they come. They either want to make a difference, or they want to learn more, or we can just simply study them and find out ways that we can help wild tigers or things like that. So, as much as you've said, like, they didn't choose to be here, the wild isn't always the prettiest place, and they are all very endangered. So what's going on in the wild that tigers are facing? Or if you want to focus on what Malayans are facing, that's cool too.
I would say it's going to be the same for
Okay.
all of them, and that's just deforestation, fragmentation, so their habitat is shrinking, or, you know, they'll have this area here, and then there's, you know, a small area here, and that, you know, fragmentation.
Especially if
is-
they're solitary, like, they have to
Yeah.
find each other and travel
Yeah.
miles, I don't know how many
Yeah.
miles, to meet and breed at the right time,
Yeah.
you know, and that can be really difficult if their homeland is cut off by, like, a train track or a new city, or
Right,
their forest is
exactly.
gone, so there's nothing to hunt, so they spread apart.
Yeah, you know, as the other thing too is we've got poaching. It's still a huge problem. You know, and there's beliefs and people that are, you know, the hunting, and then just poaching them for, they think, you know, tigers, this or that is great medicine, or something like that is going to give them some powers or whatnot. And unfortunately, another big problem too is there are literally double the amounts of tigers in the wild in human care as pets.
Yes.
And that is one of the saddest things
I think
too.
it's even just in the state of Texas is a stat I used to know, that there are so many pet tigers, or in horrible breeding situations, there's more than there are in the wild
Yeah.
left.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people have kind of heard about one thing too is trust me, I never get bored a day in this job. It is the coolest job. However, I understand people's need to want to touch a tiger, especially hold a baby tiger. But if you are going to one of these places that has baby tigers, it is not sustainable.
No,
They are
and those
not in
babies
good
are
care.
only in their care, or they only care about those babies as long as
As
they're
long
small.
as they're babies.
And they can make them money.
Yeah, people need to understand what's happening to those tigers once they grow up, and it's pretty sad. So, you know, that's one thing. I totally understand people's want and
Of
desire
course,
to do it,
yes.
Yeah.
but we've got to stop that. We've got to stop the the end of
Like
doing that.
the pay to play things
Yeah.
are usually never a good idea unless it's at like a really reputable zoo, and it probably wouldn't be advertised as pay to play. So, or even just to
Yeah.
take a photo with a baby. Those, you know, I interned at a animal sanctuary, and there were plenty of stories where, like, a lion, you know, was used to take photos with until he was 6 months old, and then he was locked in a shed to die, and somebody rescued him. Like, they don't care about them once they're too dangerous for those pictures. So,
Exactly.
man, we took a dark turn, but like this podcast is about educating
Yeah.
on conservation issues, and something that really does affect tigers, and has kind of been in the media a lot, you know, of Tiger King and all of the crazy
Yeah.
stuff recently. Like, you know, there are definitely situations that might look enticing, but they are not for the best for those animals.
Yeah,
And
you
that's
know,
something that's important to distinguish between, because, like, I still have family members who will ask me, like, oh yeah, do you get to play with the lions and pet the lions? And it's like, what we do at an AZA facility or the Cincinnati Zoo is a million times different than what you're seeing on Tiger King or at some of these tiger mills where the breeding is taking place. And it's important to draw those distinctions because we're here to educate and to inspire and to hopefully make a difference for these animals in the wild. And those places are here to make a quick buck and then dump their animals, unfortunately, and it's really sad.
And that's one of the most important parts. We can go back to the species survival plan, is having Zero and Jin here. If they currently aren't a part of the breeding population, they still need a home, and that is a part of what these people on the planning committees for the species survival plans is to figure out, like, what is the right number of tiger cubs that we would need to sustain this population genetically and have diversity, but also that we can house in zoos responsibly and have the space for. So there's so much that goes into all of this planning. And of course, we need to have cubs and we need to have breeding so that we never have to bring them in from the wild again. But it's tough. Yeah. The wild is a tough place. There are so many things they are facing. And it's very interesting that tigers are one of those animals that there's more in human homes than there are in the wild, not even under human care, but double.
The numbers are astounding.
What are the numbers for wild tigers left?
I believe we're looking at 7,000 to 10,000.
Wow, that is
for all the species.
So few. All of them combined.
Yes.
Holy cow. And we're worried about lions, and I think there's like 100,000, which sounds like a ton, but we're still really worried about them.
I think I might have given the wrong number. I think that's the number in human care.
Wow.
Which is double the wild tigers.
Yeah. I have to get my numbers together. Like, when we're talking Malayan, we're talking there's less than 500 in the wild.
Wow.
There are none of the South China tigers in the wild. There is about 30 to 40 in human care, not as pet, but they are trying to, breed them in the hopes of them not going extinct.
Sustaining the population.
Exactly. That's the only reason that they are there.
We've talked a lot about the Sumatran rhinos on the program before, and it's similar sort of thing. Like, they're just trying to keep the species alive at this point. Yeah.
I mean, there's Sumatran tiger too.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of that too, we have to look into, like, the palm oil when we talk about deforestation too. So, palm oil is a hard one for, I know, a lot of the listeners. Like, palm oil is in everything.
Literally
everything. And it's hard to know, like, who, there are lists and there are apps that you can look to see, which companies are using sustainable palm oil. But you do have to kind of work at it. And unfortunately, it's a little more difficult than, we'd like it to be. Yeah. Hopefully we can, get that easier, and then, people can try to only use, like, those companies that are.
And for anyone wondering or not familiar with it, it's almost like a crop that they're taking down forest and planting these palm oil trees, and the oil from these palms is used in all sorts of things, from shampoo to cereal, like everything. Exactly. Yeah. And the issue with it is it's not a sustainable habitat for these animals. So they're trees, sure, but they aren't providing the fruits or the leaves for the monkeys or the animals living in them, and they aren't providing the habitat for the deer that the tigers hunt. So there's nothing for the tigers to hunt. Well, sure, they could live amongst these trees. They don't have anything to sustain them. Yeah. So palm oil is just something that's basically, being farmed and taking over. It's one of the reasons, for deforestation. I did a quick Google search, and I'm going to preface this with, it was very quick while we're talking just now. And, one of the first things I find is that there are fewer than 3,900 tigers remaining in the wild, and they exist in only 4% of their historic range. And, there are about at least 5,000 tigers in, as pets around the United States and in human.
Madness.
Yeah. So, and Texas comes up very quickly. So there's a lot of tigers, anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 live in Texas by some estimates, according to a 2018 report. So, yeah, it's wild. I mean, of course there are exotic animals as pets everywhere, but tigers really are one of those that just is.
It's a status symbol, I think, for a lot of people, and it's unfortunate. I think it's hard for a lot of people to, we do this operant conditioning and work with our animals, and we form bonds with these animals. They're family.
Yes.
Legitimately family to us. We spend more time with these animals than we spend with our human families. And so, being able to get a tiger to willingly, give them a vaccine or draw blood, that took a lot of work, and we built a lot of trust. And I think a lot of times people will see that trust that we've built up and think, oh, they can touch the tiger. I can too.
Yes.
That would be basically a stranger coming up to you and just touching you in the face.
Right.
That's
Please
scary.
go
That's
away.
awful.
What are you doing?
So, people need to keep that in mind. We never go in with these dangerous animals. Everything is done in what we call protected contact. So when we're doing these things, blood draws and vaccines, there is a solid steel barrier between us. We take every precaution too. And, some of these animals, they come up to us, they act like, you get this feeling oh, I could get in there and cuddle with them. They love me, they purr, our cougars will purr, when we come over, we're never going to trust that.
Right.
They're wild animals. Yeah. And I just think that, I can't be said enough to certain people that, safety should be the utmost.
And we're professionals that went through years of being volunteers and temps to get to any chance to take care of these animals. So it's completely different than just having them at home. And we have
of people that are a lot more people crossing barriers at zoos and these facilities, and I just want to make it clear that it's not a good idea.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
So definitely.
Absolutely.
Well, to put us hopefully on a little lighter note, trivia usually brings lots of giggles.
We can lighten it up a little bit.
Let's see what Mark has for us today.
All important things that need to be said, but
yes,
it can be depressing focusing on that kind of stuff. But I do have some trivia to lighten the mood for you guys a little bit. So I know last time we had a show, we recorded with Kat, and that was pretty rough. I think I got some criticism for some rough trivia. So we're going to change tone a little bit here. I've got true-false today.
Wow.
True-false.
I have a 50-50 chance.
True, 50-50 chance for everything.
You should already get credit for that, knowing it's 50-50. Good job. Absolutely. Score one for Jenna.
Oh, math was my
We've
worst.
got 4 questions today, all right? Question number 1. Tiger stripes are only in their fur. So if you shave a tiger, it's all the same color. Yeah.
I'm going with Erin. False.
Yeah, false. It is false, yeah. Stripes go all the way down through their skin. So if you shaved a tiger, it's still orange and black all the way to its skin. And like we said earlier, these patterns are unique to each individual, just like our fingerprint. I'm sure there'll be some amazing photos posted on our Facebook page and members page about our tigers. You'll be able to find some sort of stripes and markings to tell them apart.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That is cool, though, to imagine their skin just being striped.
All right, question number 2. How we touched on this earlier, Jenna. We'll see how good you were paying attention. There are, true or false, there are 6 living subspecies of tigers.
True.
True, it's correct.
Erin taught me that.
It's correct. We've got 6 living subspecies: Sumatran, Siberian or Amur, Bengal, Malayan, South China, and Indo-Chinese. There are 3 extinct subspecies, the Javan, Bali, and Caspian tigers. But interestingly enough, when I was looking this up, there's research being done at, I hope I pronounce this right, the Leibniz Institute for Zoo and Wildlife Research in Berlin, and they are proposing that this subspecies should be rearranged into 2 subspecies.
It's like the giraffe debacle.
It's all being done by genetic research, and
it wasn't even until I think don't quote me on dates, but I think it was 2005 or something that they realized that the Malayan tiger was actually a separate
subspecies. Wow. Yeah, because I feel like it used to be part of the Indo-Chinese. Mm-hmm. They were kind of grouped together, and then it's all its own now. But now they're doing this genetic research and taking all this data, and they're proposing that there's just 2 subspecies, and all of these current subspecies would be kind of grouped together under these umbrellas.
Huh.
So,
very interesting.
Something to keep an eye on.
They seem so different, though. It seems more likely they're subspecies.
The same thing. But just based on like size, like we talked about earlier, the Malayans, you're talking about a 250
some look
pound
fluffy,
tiger.
and some look really sleek, and some look
Some are so
darker or
dark
lighter.
orange,
Yeah.
So something to keep an eye on moving forward. But for right now, we're still going with 6.
Okay.
All right. Question number 4. We're 2 for 2 so far. Moving in the right direction. Question number 4. Or wait. I'm sorry. Question number 3. I'm skipping questions here. Question number 3. Jenna, you should have known if we were going to do a tiger podcast. There's going to be a Tony the Tiger question. Come on. Tony the Tiger.
Great.
Tony the Tiger, the mascot of Frosted Flakes, obviously.
Oh, I thought that was going to be the question. I was like, I got this.
Debuted in 1992. True or false?
False.
False.
False. You guys,
Further back in history.
you guys are correct.
Tony's old.
It's false. You have a guess for what year?
Let's see.
1961.
I'd say 50s or early 60s, maybe.
You guys are on the right track. The Breakfast Legend made his debut in 1952. 1952. I was always a
Even
huge
sooner.
Frosted Flakes kid growing up.
I haven't had them in years.
All right, last question here. We do have a professional team in the area, Cincinnati Bengals. Mascot is a tiger. Obviously, we have to touch on them. The Cincinnati Bengals have been to 3 Super Bowl appearances in franchise history. True or false?
Is that it?
Oh, wait.
I know of one.
Jenna knows the
I'm
one.
not from here. She's a
just
big Bengals fan. I'm going to call her
I'm
out.
not a Bengals fan.
I thought you were.
Oh, no. I was. Let's see. I know they played one. I remember San Francisco.
I was going to say, I think I
And
saw
the
a
recent one.
throwback photo of you.
I'm going to say,
Is it only 3?
I'm going to say it was 2, but maybe it was 3. I thought it was 2.
The true or false is they've been in 3.
They've been in 3. True
I'm going
or
to say
false?
true.
Jenna's saying true.
I'll go with Jenna.
True.
Don't do that.
It is true. It is true. So they made Super Bowl appearances in 1982, 1989, and then obviously this past season in 2022. Hopefully, with Joe Burrow, they're not going to just be appearances anymore. They'll have
It'll be a regular.
Yeah, it'll be a title.
Yeah.
It'll be a title.
Awesome.
Come back.
Hey, 4 for 4 today.
Yes!
Let's go.
Thanks, Mark.
Perfect day.
Help me feel better about myself. Erin, are there any other tiger facts or fun things you wanted to share with us before we get into the final question?
Wait, there's more questions?
You know. You're prepared for it.
What?
I have a final question. What can I do? But I wanted to see if there's anything else.
Anything else? Oh.
If not, that's okay. But I just want to make sure you didn't have any fun facts or
Or stories or anything. Yeah.
tiger info we needed to know.
I don't know. Are we gonna talk poop?
Do you want to talk poop?
We can talk. I mean,
What do you want
I
to
don't
say
know.
about
I
poop?
want to know, like, okay, so lion poop, because you know, obviously take care of lions. Like, well, I did too for a little bit, but tiger poop is so, like, it does not dissolve in water. Like, it is so hard. Like,
I've never put our lion poop in
I mean,
water. I
we
can
don't
tell
like
you.
dissolve it, but it's not something you can flush down a drain. You know, other poop you hose it and it kind of like, you know, melts away. I'm
Yeah.
just curious.
Huh.
Like, I don't know what cheetah
put us
poop
on the
is
spot.
like.
She
with
puts on
this.
I always pick up our lion poop by hand.
Yeah.
Like, I never try and hose it.
Yeah, I remember our white line gracious, like her poop was pretty hard like tigers, but like tiger poop is just crazy.
There's something different about tiger poop,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's not always that way, but for the most part, tiger poop is like you're just like there are times that you literally could not crush it with your hand. It's that
Wow.
like
Fun
I
fact
feel like
for everyone.
people might want to know that. Like,
Yeah,
if
now I
they-
feel like I need to try
That is a
and
fun
crush
fact,
our
I
lion
know.
poop.
you know,
You know
it's-
what? Fun fact is, lion poop is my very least favorite. Yeah, my very least
Really?
favorite in this department. Ostrich is a close second.
Ostrich
What's
is
your
pretty rough.
what's your
Ostrich is pretty rough. I don't know. Not that the poop is that bad, but those hippo pools. Just cleaning out the hippo pools, you get the soggy poop at the bottom of the pool, and it's
yeah.
just
And it's
Poop
like
much.
300 pounds of
yeah.
it.
And
But
you have to
no,
haul it up the stairs. Like that is a pain in the
the
butt.
lion poop just
It
smells
reeks,
the worst.
yeah,
it's the
it's-
grossest to me. I'd pick up the hippo poop barehanded. I mean, it's just hay.
Yeah, it's
Especially
just,
after
it's
you go
just-
Yeah, same with elephant. It's just,
so
it's
funny.
just elephant poop with like softened.
Yeah,
basically.
it's soaked. It's a little, yeah, that's bad. But it's funny, like, you talk with friends where I like use a little piece of toilet paper to pick up like hair out of the shower drain. I was talking about this with like Dr. Curry and Dr. Louisa the other day, and it's like it's my own hair. I literally just cleaned it. Like I shampooed it. It fell off of my head into the drain, and I don't want to touch it. But I will pick up hippo poop with my bare hands on a daily basis.
So much poop with my bare hands, and you know what else I can't stand is food in the sink in the drain.
Yeah.
I will not pick that up with my bare hand.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. It's food. I just got done chopping it or whatever.
You would eat it like 2 seconds previous.
Yeah. But no, I will not pick that up with my bare hand.
It's wet and it's in a drain.
Zookeepers are so weird.
That's for sure. That is for sure.
We are weird in the coolest way. We are always. Yeah.
We think we're cool.
That's what we're gonna tell ourselves. Yeah.
We are, but we're weird. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Okay, well, this has been fantastic. Thank you, Erin. You've done a great job, and you have great stories. And I'm thankful you asked about tiger poop. But we do have a final question.
Yes.
And you know, people are hearing now. They've just heard how endangered tigers are. Do you have any advice for them, or what can I do? How can I help?
There's a lot of things you can do. I know we talked about palm oil, but there is an American based organization, and they are called Panthera. They help with a lot of the bigger and wild cats, but I would check out their website, share it with people, see what you can do that way. Definitely, they actually provide some financial support, and if you're able to provide that as well to them, that's always something you can do. But they do things to prevent poaching. They work with various companies to try to help negate the deforestation and try to regulate that. They also do a lot of research, a lot of conservation work, and just all around a great group.
So if you wanted to, you could go to panthera.org and check out, and they have a Facebook page that you can see a lot of different cats on, and you could even share that, and just for education's sake, so that people have, if you can't make a monetary donation, that's okay, but just educating by sharing cool pictures of animals and learning about them and what issues they're facing would be something you could do.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just don't even realize, we're on the verge of losing tigers. I mean, completely. So
it's insane to think, less than 4,000 probably roam this earth.
It's really sad. So, the more we can educate and, hey, visit the zoo, visit Jin and Zero.
Yes.
Say hi, even, just doing that.
Teach your niece, your nephew, your son, your daughter, a friend about them, and maybe they'll grow up to make a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Panthera, great organization. Go to their website, share their news on Facebook, educate yourself and others. I need to educate myself. I need to look up the website, honestly.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
There's something coming up at the end of July, right?
Yeah, we've got World Tiger Day, where we celebrate all things tiger. So Cincinnati Zoo here will have a table set up with all kinds of information about tigers, ways that you can help them, information you can learn. We'd like to put out a lot of fun, different enrichment for the tigers, so there's always something going on for you to see and kind of engage with them a little bit.
Very cool. So they might maybe see keepers out a little bit more than
we do post people out there to kind of answer questions and talk to you and all of our visitors. So it's a lot more engaging, a lot more to do that day, and some fun pictures.
Cool. So July 29th, World Tiger Day.
World Tiger Day.
Awesome. Well, this will be coming out just in time for everyone to hear and come see Jin or Zero, one or the other, and celebrate World Tiger Day.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again,
Awesome.
Erin. This has been great. Thanks for sharing so much about tigers and your career and funny stories.
Yeah.
And the new fishing cat. Check out Jupiter. Juniper. Almost. Gotta end it embarrassing myself somehow. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Until next time, take care.